his hands like a little bit deep, like a foot or two. And this thing didn't make a splash or nothing. And then me and him, we turn around running. Everybody's coming down laughing with their drinks and all this stuff. And then I guess the little boy tells his mom, and his mom is like apologizing to everybody, saying, yeah, he has a vivid imagination. And the guy telling the story is like, no, listen, we saw a fish man, and it wasn't like a mermaid. It didn't look feminine at all. It looked like a man. And then he's like kind of cussing a lot. It says like an effing dude who said basically, get the F out of the pool. He was like, like an Aquaman. And he was out of the water like a fish person or a human. It came out, and they asked him, did it have like scales or whatever? And he was like, it was kind of dark. It was dark like a dolphin, but no. The back of him, like the second half of him, like I guess where his legs would be or something, was a fish. And then his head was like a humanoid. And he had eyes like so big, and he kind of makes his hands like kind of in circles. I guess this place is called like Seychelles. Anyway, so I guess he looked it up, and he's not the first person to see these types of things in the waters. Weird stories about things in the sea like that. There's places that they say to have like these types of like mermaid type guards, and they're guys. And they challenge the captain of the boat to a rhyming contest before they can pass. Isn't that weird? So I guess those were the first rap battles, right? I mean, I'm talking like long time ago, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. I can just see it now, like in a underground Brooklyn rap battle. These guys, like, they say their rap verses, and then, oh no, here comes the next challenger, and they push out a dunk tank, and a mermaid comes out and just starts spitting rhymes. This is a newer post in Glitch in the Matrix on Reddit. I was on my way to work around 1 p.m. and I got on a train to Sendagaya, which is where they trained the Olympic athletes for 2021. I noticed this dude, and he noticed me. The dude got off at the same station I was supposed to get off at, and I didn't know that station so well, so I followed him to get to the exit. There were a bunch of vending machines, but no exit. He smirked at me and put in a coin and literally just vanished. I rushed to the vending machines, pressing all the buttons and putting in coins to buy that drink, and I bought one and nothing. I just ended up like, why did he do that? Because he wanted to vanish too? I don't know. Anyway, quote, I just ended up going to work and came back to the station to find that area was off limits. It was an off-limits zone due to construction. Whoa, that got weird. I've seen other weird things, but I didn't expect someone just to vanish from existing. The smirking at him thing was weird too. And it sounds like the guy got his attention on the train in the first place. But weird that it's a off-limits zone for construction right after that. He goes to work and comes out a few hours later, and it's all an off-limit zone. I didn't even catch that the first time I read it. Weird. Cool. So I like that one. That was a good story. This one, I'm not sure what I think about. I don't know if I believe it. It's just these people, there's two of them, and they're saying that I'll just read it. So this person starts off by saying, it's important that others can't connect this to me. So they're using a fake name. The name they use is My First Throwaway or something like that. So they start off by saying, I'm not sure if this is time travel. In fact, I'm not sure what it was. 5 years ago, everything changed. That's literally the best way to describe it. Nothing incredible happened leading up to it. I finished my coffee at the diner after a long shift at the hospital, went into the bathroom, and then when I came out, everything was different, including me. I was an anesthesiologist working primarily in labor and delivery in Skinners, Oregon. Let's start with just those changes. Suddenly, I wasn't a doctor, although I still worked in technology. I have a full PhD and 6 years' experiences worth of knowledge in my head, but knew almost nothing about the technology I now apparently had been working in. Skinners was a city of almost 1 million people. Now it's called Eugene and has a population of less than 200,000. The diner was directly across from my hospital, so the first thing I noticed was the hospital missing. Instead, there was some kind of mega store and a Burger King, and the whole area was far less developed. My clothes had changed, my hair was different, etc., etc. Being a doctor, my first reaction was I was having some sort of psychotic episode, and immediately I sought help. I went back into the diner, and I remember this with some humor, asked the guy to call me a car, and he looked at me funny. Then I asked if I needed a taxi. The possible time travel bit to this is that while at the hospital where I sought to get help, I learned that the year was now 2010. Earlier in the day, the year had been 2106, yet I hadn't noticed any significant decrease in technology. In fact, the hospital was so familiar, I gladly felt somewhat at home there. I have no idea what happened to this day. I have written off the psychotic episode because my new life is very much still in place and I still retain an impossible amount of knowledge about anesthesiology. I have since found online a small number of people who have experienced this. I have also met a lot of wackos, the real ones, and I come from the same world, time, whatever, and can validate each other with just a few questions about that other place. So unintentional time travel, I'm sure it's possible. All I know is that there's some kind of hole that connects other places or times, and it's a lot easier than you might think to fall through. The questions that come at this person is just, a bunch. And then this person meets another person and they have a similar story that they start going with. They say, this is unnerving, blah, blah, blah. I said I would tell my story, so here I am. They say, I was born in London, England. I was raised there as well. I was at the university where I was an Emma professor when this happened. I was in my chambers, and much the same manner as my first throwaway, that other person described, nothing out of the ordinary in the least happened until I left. As soon as I left, I had this weird feeling we all get when there's somebody in the room and you didn't realize it. I looked back at my chambers through the door window and there was somebody sitting at my desk where I had just been sitting. I went back in to give them hell, but instead they greeted me, but by a different name, and asked if I'd forgotten something. This whole encounter was so strange, I barely made sense of the memories. It was almost 15 years ago, so I'll skip past the millions of strange little details of that encounter and summarize. The chambers were no longer mine. I was a professor at the university, but I'd only been there due to a brief meeting with another professor. I was fairly shaken and confused, but unlike my first throwaway, that first person story, I didn't think I had a psychotic episode. I thought somebody was trying to take the piss. I don't know what that means. They're British, so I don't know what that means. But maybe someone was trying to play a trick on them or trying to play a joke. But then as I walked through the halls, things started to get to be very different. The fashions weren't what I noticed at first. I don't want to go into details all that too much, but in my world, there's no USA. There's no Canada. A large majority of the world is ruled by either Spain or France. The UK is a superpower, as you call it, but to no such degree as Spain or France. Belgium is another superpower. Eastern Europe, as you call it, along with Russia and this world and Asia, are heavily populated, but with little infrastructure. Much like your India, North America is entirely Spanish, with some French colonies in the far north and south and all. So it just kind of goes on. He said Spain and France have been ruling since the 1580s, and then so in his world, England lost the war against the Spanish, and then so Spain just ended up taking over everything. I don't know. Is something like that possible? Who knows? I'd like to thank everybody for checking out the podcast today. Remember to click the RSS feed, be updated with future episodes. The music is Downbeat 88. The opening track is called The Dark. The ending track is called A Moment of Peace. These podcasts are also on Spotify and Amazon Podcasts and Stitcher. I'd like to thank my first Patreon, Roxy. So thanks a lot. My Patreon is patreon.com/ParaDoxWalk. All right, so everybody have a good day, and thanks so much for listening. Have a good day. Bye.